sponsorship. You will have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to the YouTube channel UFO Paranormal Radio and get into chat, or that's the one that we're using tonight. So it is not United Public Radio. Subscribe if you haven't. You can get into all the Facebook United Public Radio stations and Twitch, SoundCloud, and Podbeam. We can only respond to your comments on YouTube channel. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask away. And also on Joe Montalzo's Facebook as well. So, thank you.
All right, so we have a great show tonight. I'm looking forward to this show.
Yes.
For multiple reasons. One, we're going to talk about shadow people.
Yes, your favorite.
My favorite.
His favorite.
And UFOs and aliens. So, who are we talking about?
Okay, well, welcome today, Heidi Hollis, to the show. Heidi is the host of her own show, Dark Becomes Light, which is part of the #1 paranormal network with millions of listeners, the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. She is the world's foremost expert on shadow people and Hat Man. Has a best-selling book, The Secret War and the Hat Man. She has collected thousands of reports from all around the globe and believes they are behind most hauntings. I agree with that. From angels to aliens, near-death experience, she knows her stuff. She gives advice on her blog as well, The Hat Man Letters, at medium.com, at Heidi Hollis. She writes for so many magazines and has been featured on many television shows and radio shows worldwide. You can find all of her books and everything else you need to know on her website, www.HeidiHollis.com. So welcome, Heidi, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you both doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
Surviving the COVID, man. Woo.
Yeah, we're in a different world, right, with that.
Yeah. It's crazy. Just when you think like it's getting better, it gets worse.
Oh, yeah. It's heartbreaking. It really is. And I'm in the medical field. I'm not practicing right now during COVID. It's been a little bit nuts. But, man, I've lost a lot of colleagues to COVID.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, us too. We lost a lot of friends from New York.
Yeah.
And some that are still suffering from it. So, our hearts go out, and you always ask why. We don't, hopefully one day it'll be behind us.
Yeah.
But some people aren't going to be around, unfortunately.
Yes.
And and that brings me to this. Heidi, you have a big resume. You have books out there. And Julia had mentioned about near-death experiences and part of your bio. So I'm a firm believer in that. And I'd like to hear, your thoughts on near-death experiences.
Yeah. Well, it is something that I know to be true personally. I have a lot of, memories versus experiences of the other side. As a kid, I had deadly seizures. And I would always come back having been to this heaven-like place. And I would just refer to it as this crystal city. And I've got a lot of friends that have experienced near-death experiences as well. And it's so real. It's not something I personally question. It just seems to be something that human beings do. We have other lives, and we have a soul that transmits from one life to the next. And it sounds strange. I understand for some people that haven't experienced it, but I remember before I was born, it wasn't something I was trying for. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't hypnotized. I was walking across my living room to go to the restroom, talking to a friend. And boom, I just totally remembered everything, agreeing to come here during this time of change and to inform people about this evil presence, shadow people and Hat Man, before even coming here. So I agreed to be here during this time and to be doing what I'm doing right now. So it's nothing I would ever change. So I it's just a part of me. So near-death experiences, afterlife, before life, other lives. I believe in the whole shebang.
I do as well. I'm a big researcher in near-death experiences. I myself had experienced what you're talking about. You
Oh,
said something that rang true, and I want to get your thoughts on it more thoroughly.
yeah,
You said that you've chosen this
yeah.
life. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So, to share what the experience was, so literally, I'm talking to my friend. I get up to use the restroom, and my whole being just left. And it was like reflecting on a memory versus it being anything else. But it felt so real and active, but it was a reflection of a memory. And what I saw was the spinning sun. And within the sun, there were trillions upon trillions of lights, and each light was a soul. And I was one of them. Thoughts, ideas, goals, missions, whatever it was, every single light contributed to the thought as it flowed in this like love soup of light. And it went to the center, it became one. And I remember this thought going through of something that needed to be done here during this time. And, I tell people, it's like I'm no hero. I remember casually thinking, I think that's something I can do. And it was like everybody else took a step back and like, oh, she said she'll do it. And before I know it, I'm being ripped out of this. It was just solid love. And it was like my heart was being ripped out. And I remember shooting through space out of the spinning sun. And I knew the sun thing to be called the source, by the way. It felt like a part of God. And I was going to be trained on what to be doing here. So I went to this crystal city. I know I went to other planets. And I can't say I have distinctive individual memories of everything that was taught to me, but I knew that's what I was going to go do. And so I absolutely agreed to be here. But I'll tell you, while I'm standing there in the middle of the living room, and I get this memory that just hits me, and all I could do is go back to my futon, holding my head, saying, "How could I forget? How could I forget? How could I forget?" And my friend's like, "Forget what?" And I'm like, "Forget what I'm doing here." It's like, I was in college, and I'm like it was like the equivalent of forgetting my first name is Heidi. I knew everything about this place. I knew everything about why I came here. And it was really difficult for me to stay in school because it was so burning in me that I didn't come here to be a therapist. I came here to be doing this. What am I doing going to school? This doesn't matter. It was really difficult. But I'll tell you, for the first 5 years after I graduated college, that was my priority. It was hitting the road. I wrote my book while I'm in college, and I put it out on my own dime after 4 years of trying to get a publisher. It was horrible. So, and I didn't practice as a therapist. I was just going conference to conference, telling people, this thing is coming, look out, shadow people, hat man, this is what you've got to do to protect yourself. So it absolutely ingrained in me to be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. So, but I am a therapist now too.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're
Yep.
helping people.
Mhm.
And something that just gave me the chills, what you said is that you said, I'll go.
Yeah.
Well, this may sound far-fetched, but I did the same thing.
Oh, nice.
So I did the same thing. I was with a group of people. I was in this higher place, which we call it heaven, but when you're there, it's called home. And I remember this verbatim. I said, I'll go.
Wow.
Wow. Amazing. And
Yeah,
before,
that is amazing. That just gave me the chills. So then it's believed that maybe we have written out our lifetime to go through learning lessons, correct?
well, I know what I came here was to help other people as much as I possibly can to get them prepared for this onslaught of these demonic things and Hatman, which is absolutely the devil himself. Um,
Oh,
it's a strange thing, and it's like I personally didn't question because I know who what I'm here for. It's like I didn't question. I'm like, got to get on this. This is what I got to do, and yeah, who would think that this drive would change the world of the paranormal and people's understandings of what's been happening to them a lot of their lives when it comes to these horrific nightmares and onslaught of these creatures coming at them. So I'm it's been a very humbling experience. Never would have thought it would have exploded like this. All I know is what I agreed to do, and then I had encounters with Jesus, who also told me some things that needed to be done. So
To work on, I guess, the energy of your soul, right? That would make more sense. That's how I interpret, is that each lifetime we're replenishing the soul and going through these journeys and rebuilding ourselves stronger and learning from the mistakes of previous lifetimes.
Yeah.
Holly, you said Heidi, I'm sorry.
It happens all the time.
You said something about Hatman, and a lot of people around the world ask about Hatman.
Yeah.
I have a picture of Hatman. And before I even get into that, you said Hatman maybe is the devil?
Yeah, he will admit he is.
Wow.
And how did you find this out?
Oh gosh, it's something that I was told from the other side, and angelic beings and whatnot, and also with the culmination of all the emails, the folks that were like, "Who is he? He's the devil, isn't he?" Like they would answer their own question, and he would admit that he was at times as well. So everything points to him being the devil himself. And the things that he's after and what he's doing, telltale signs of his ultimate goal. So,
Wow.
There's multiple sightings, around the world of Hatman.
yeah.
Is it the same entity?
I get that question a lot. It's like, is it the same guy? In the beginning it was. Not anymore. He's recruited. So, yes, he's got his little lookalikes. Not even lookalikes, are just dressing alike, unfortunately. So it's pretty sad. It's I've been trying my best to let people know this is not something to play with, and unfortunately, just to address something that also gets brought up a lot more recently, I trademarked Shadow People and Hatman because I didn't go looking for film and TV shows on these things. People started letting me know, "Hey, Heidi, is that your show? Is that your film?" I'm like, "What's going on?" And it's like making it into entertainment when I'm getting emails where people's lives are at risk, and then they're causing harm with this as well, because these people are like, "Well, the show said." I'm like, "Well, I don't know what you're speaking of. Yes, that's my material." But they're not always getting the message correct. But they just started ripping me off so much and not getting it right on top of it all. So I'm trying to reel that back in. So it's not like it's not being abused at the levels that it is. So it's been a daunting task, I'll tell you. But yeah, and it's really a shame too. I'm a minority woman. I've hoofed it across the country on my own dime, trying to get word out there, while I was laughed at by the people who put on conferences. Like, that's not a real phenomenon, only for those people to take it and rip it off and make their whatever money on it. So it's not my work that I'm not profiting off these things. I've made my books where Amazon used to have this free program where you could get my books for free. That's what I had it on there. And now you have to buy some kind of membership, but I have them for free, trying to help people, only to have this go on and then have people contact me. "Hey, can you help me write a book on this?" I'm like, "I've already written the book on it." And, then they're getting booked for conferences and speaking my material, and they're getting it wrong. So it's something that I've had to do. And it's like, I got tired of sitting watching this happening. And so putting the kibosh on people going out lecturing, talking on my stuff, going on these radio shows, it's just been too ridiculous. I put in, it's been over 20 years I've been speaking on this now. I wrote my book in 97 on these things. So it took a while to get it published because I got, back then, people who really published on these topics were other authors on the paranormal and UFOs. So I'd spread it out to all these different people and hoping to get it published. And it was just it was so difficult. But 4 years later, finally getting it out, and it's been an interesting to watch it develop, but interesting to see how distorted it got. Is really, really sad. So
Yeah, well, unfortunately that happens. Shadow people, do you think they're interdimensional? Do you think they're demons, entities? Do you think that it's those that have crossed over into another dimension? Your thoughts?
I think that they make use of anything and everything that they can gain access to get at your soul, because that's their ultimate goal. So yeah, they're able to go into your dreams. What is that? That's another dimension of a sort. That's kind of a soul level they're creeping into, only for you to open your eyes and it's in the room with you. It's like, what are we talking about here? But then they're also very connected to aliens. The alien phenomenon, I've always connected it to them. And the things that they're capable of doing and manifesting as, there's really no limits. When we think of God and the light source, but there's no limits, right? Well, this is from the dark source, and they're pulling every trick out of their hat that they can. And I hate to say, but the alarm bells are ringing. They're getting more desperate. They're having a feast right now with the pandemic and all the cataclysmic events and everything going on. It's been really heartbreaking, and to see this happening and know the outcome, the buildup is, dark doesn't win. The light always wins in the end, but there's going to be some really dark times in the process. And I get, well, is this an apocalypse? What's going on here? I'm very much of I'm Christian, and it's like nobody knows the hour or the day when things will go. But I think it's definitely a time of change, and it's going to be okay ultimately.
I agree with you. I think that we're in this part of our lives right now where there's so much uncertainty, and of course, evil finds weak links and destroys and dominates. And I think that we're going through a transition while light always wins at the end, which is true. The goodness, the hope, the faith, the love, and who we really are, our souls, the reflection of our physicals is being affected by all the negativity that's out there through all of these things. And so I guess then shadow people are no good. And plain and simple, they're evil. You said they're after our souls. And I'm going to tell you this, Julie and I lived in a haunted home. We're still in the home, but we believe that the activity had went down a little bit. But I'm going to say that this is what I found to be interesting with paranormal teams. When they would come into the basement and investigate, you would see these shadows coming out of the wall. Not full body apparitions, but mist shadows, and they would fly everywhere, and everyone's seen them.
Yeah.
And that was during paranormal investigations, which led me to believe that these things are intelligent. And it just so happens that one or two people during the investigation were affected mentally or sickly within the hour. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
And also, when I said I have a picture of the Hat Man, so in 2015, we had the home blessed by an entire ministry of every faith and religion.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, I'm in the basement. I see shadows. And all of a sudden, the toy goes off by itself. Myself and my kids get the cell phone. We're recording a toy that cannot go off. It's impossible. Go off on questions that we're asking. So it wasn't talking, just making the toy go off. So on Paranormal Zone TV, I had sent the clip. It's now on YouTube. One of their people caught the Hat Man. You see the hat guy coming down the stairs at the exact time the toy is going off. And that, my friends, is a fact.
I believe it. Yeah, there's been a lot of photos of him showing up. I've had people send me some, and so absolutely distinctive. There's just no denying. He's very active. And now I'll tell you something too. There's a reason why he wants to be recognized. He could mix it up. He could, switch what he looks like, but he wants people to know he's coming. He's here. He's the same presence in all these different locations to show what? Have some respectful fear towards him. Jesus, we know his image, we know his presence, and we know we look for that. People know to fear this. So he's looking for people to feed into that and to know he's here for what he's here for, is for souls and for domination. It's very dire right now, and I don't even know how best to express how absolutely deadly this situation is. When something could come into your home and punch his fist to your chest and rip your soul out, what are we talking about here? Is that like something to revere and say, well, he doesn't scare me? Look, it's not about that. It's about, holy crap, what is he looking at, and why is he able to access me so easily? We've got to totally get our put up our dukes and learn how to protect ourselves. And it's nothing we could take on ourselves. This is some ancient, old, dark, evil stuff. And he is building up his army. He's got his recruits. And we've got to call on his polar opposite, God, Jesus. Throw it at him, because that's the only way that we're going to defeat this, and having no doubts in that, that he can be taken down.
Yep. And, I have a question. Do you think the more that we talk about these things, especially the Hat Man, shadow people, the more power we give them and the more they come around? What are your thoughts about that?
I know people get scared. I get, oh gosh, I've experienced him, but I'm afraid to get your book because I think he's going to come looking, and I'm like, did he come already? Oh, okay. He already knows your number. He gets angry because I have people that are like, like he comes all the time, and now he's growling because I reached out to you. I'm like, good. That's awesome. Tick him off. Don't take him on. But yeah, I love to keep the insults in his direction, because it's like that shows he's getting nervous. What, you got a book on me? Oh, let me come and try to puff some more. It's such a show, and it's such an act. And if people can realize that, you don't have to keep coming around to be a bully, do you? If you got the message across the first time. But he does. He keeps it. He'll try to do it, and it's like to convince you to let your guard down. Oh, you're not so big and bad. Oh, let me come 15 more times, dude. You're not that strong if you have to come that many times. But when I hear that he keeps coming like that, that means you're a tough nut to crack, because it works. So I take it as a compliment that he does act up sometimes with people, and they're like, oh, the fear, I don't know if I should look. I've got it right here. This book is about trying to empower people. It's a dark topic, but I write as I speak. So I'm like, I keep it light. I want people to feel empowered. I want them to realize here's stories that might reflect what it is that you've experienced, but here is how you toss him out, so you don't have to succumb to his threats. So,
yeah, thank you.
So aliens. Now you said shadow people and aliens. What's the connection?
Well, the connection is, there's negative beings for the most part. That those are the ones that we hear about, are the ones that do horrific things to people, and they cause something like sleep paralysis. And they also get into your dreams. They get into your head, and they abuse you. They rape, they bite, they do such horrible things to people. And I could never understand what was the connection between grays. What was the connection? Reptilians, praying mantis. And I learned that they were a conquered species. So these are conquered races by shadows, by the shadow people. So this is not the first planet this has happened to. And it's like, how better to get destruction to happen in a place, but to have your own kind turn on you. So we've got people that are possessed here turning on us. So these different beings, like they had a planet of their own, and they got conquered and made to work for these things too. So it seems so strange, and it's like people think I came up with this on my own, but I didn't. I had myself and my college roommate, we had some encounters with positive alien beings that relate all this information about shadow people and Hatman details, and didn't 100% come from them, but that connection between the different beings and this war that's coming, and that's my other book actually. It's called The Secret War, and this is when you can't get it in print right now, but I'll have to put it back into print at some point. But it's in ebook, Kindle. But yeah, so it was talking about this connection between different alien factions and shadow people. This is the book that introduced the whole phenomenon to the world. And it is what it is. I'm like, I was bearing witness to things that I didn't have an understanding of. I was having shadow things coming at me and going after friends, and didn't understand what those were exactly. I remembered what I came here to do, to help people through a transition, but I didn't get that exact memo on shadow people, Hatman stuff. And lo and behold, people who experience alien beings, alien abductions, experience shadow people. They experience Hatman. So it's all connected. It's a strange thing.
It is. I definitely agree. It's definitely all connected.
Once again, I got to say, I've had that experience in 2007 in Eastern Pennsylvania in a different home. I've had that experience, what you're talking about. Not that I was pulled up into no ship. I wasn't. But I do remember the middle of the night.
I remember that.
These tall beings came right through the window in the wall like it wasn't there. And when this is happening, you think you're dreaming. You think maybe it's a hallucination. But I remember them turning me around, and I couldn't control my body. I couldn't move. It's not that I was frozen, but the mind was frozen.
Yeah.
And what it reminded me of is a form of sleep paralysis. Yes. And then I remember what I thought to believe with their fingers were long and silky. And through my left eardrum, I felt something was implanted. And I woke up the next day asking my wife, what happened here? She goes, nothing.
I didn't.
So I thought it was a dream, right? I'm thinking it was a dream, only to find out the next day there's talk in the neighborhood of people saying, did you see, without me saying anything, did you see the craft up in the sky? And I said, no.
What year was that?
That was in 2007, July.
2007.
So it was documented. It's an actual documented case. I didn't document it. I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah.
But from that point on, and this is the truth, from that point on, I cannot lift a mattress.
He can't.
I get shocks through my fingers that hurt.
He has a good excuse too. I can't lift that mattress.
I can't. And I was a telemarketer in New Jersey, and I remember when I used to hold the phone to my left ear. After that point in time, I would have some kind of a ring, not like it was the sharp ring, like I couldn't hold it no more. I had to put it to the right ear, and that still goes on today.
Wow.
So when you said, which you spoke the truth, you said that aliens, shadow people, the Hat Man, you're correct, because here we are in a different home, right?
Yeah.
And we have teams that investigated and said the Hat Man, the shadow people come when there's an investigation going on. And then 2007, when I was not even into this paranormal stuff or believing in it, I'm experiencing something I cannot explain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Heidi, my question is, does the government know about this, aliens?
Yes, they do. They really do. They're so aware. I'm so disgusted with. Oh, we're going to put out a report soon. I'm like,
In
okay,
June.
break. How many people have been suffering for all these years? They've been isolated. They've been depressed. They've been suicidal. Their family has disowned them. Oh, you're going to put out a report after you've called people nuts for all these times and threatened people.
It's horrible.
It's like, oh, let me kiss your feet. You're doing something finally. Of course, they know, and it's a shame. It's really a shame, and they're so aware, and they're so. I had military abductions. I got interrogated. I got threatened by these people, and then I was in college, and I was like, I think some guys in some camouflage and rifles came and interrogated me, and it was just like, you sound nuts. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what that was. It took me a while to learn of military, my labs, military abduction stands for. I was blown away. So they are so in the know, and it's. I always say that NASA is not. It's like the curtain. There's a whole other faction of technology they have, but they're just totally keeping it from the public, and it's a shame and a sham, to be honest. So.
I agree with you 1,000%. Now, they do say because of the COVID-19 relief bill in June, which would be 6 months later, they're supposed to say, okay, this is what we uncovered with UFOs. That's supposed to be told in June. Of course, they're going to spin it.
Yes.
I don't spin everything else.
I don't trust it. Yeah, they're not going to put the real stuff. They're going to, here's some grainy images of a little tic tac flying through the sky. Dude, why don't you just lift up the door to your garage and let us see the real thing? So silly anymore. So silly. I've seen a lot of UFOs. A lot. I lost count how many I've seen. So
they're true. I believe in them. I believe in my experience. Not because I had the experience, because other people documented the experience. So then I can't be going nuts. It has to happen.
Yeah.
And there's this correlation of some of us are lighthouses, right? Yep. When one thing happens, another thing happens. So then the technology that we have and the advance in technology from the late 80s all the way up to now.
Yeah.
Do you think it's some sort of technology that we got from these people, these beings?
For certain. Absolutely for certain. Without going into a ton of detail, but I found that even within my own family, they're aware of what the government has been doing as far as that's concerned. And they are totally reverse engineering, doing so much. It's just horrible. It's like, it's cool that they did, but mankind has been proving themselves to be unworthy at so many different levels that they're hoarding the information. We shouldn't have to pay for energy bills. We shouldn't have to have a lot of things that we're having to pay for now. We should be living in the times of Star Trek. But no, some greedy guys at the top want to keep everybody in their place. It's just not cool. And they wonder why evil is here. It's like, it's just a handful of people are playing with the real stuff. I just, you can't buy this crap. You can't buy what they're pulling. I've known people personally that built engines that were able to levitate and pull the energy right out of the air. Oh, they were hushed out. One of them was mysteriously murdered. I mean, come on. It's so stupid anymore. You think about if you have faith in God, it's like, how do you think God feels about this? It's like, we supported the wizard to go out and learn stuff about the world, and then the wizard kept it to himself and laughed at the rest of us that supported him to learn these things. And they're just not being very sharing or caring. So
yeah.
I agree with you.
That's a good way of putting it.
Definitely. Do you think it's because of religion that it's not leaked out because maybe people can't handle it, the truth?
The Catholic Church owns the most powerful observatories. They're not shy about what they're doing, really. They're looking to the stars and, we're just doing it for the calendars. But then I heard some announcement that the Pope said our space brothers believe in the same God or something. I mean, I think that there's enough room and there's enough of God to go around to think that, he created a lot of things out there. So I don't understand the limitations that get placed. The religious institutions, they're so stuck in their traditions, and it's a shame. And I think that's why they lost so many people too, stepping away from the church, and then some of the atrocities that went on. But people have to realize it's not about an institution; it's about your relationship with God. And I'm not talking about. I have a problem when people will say, because I used to say it, I'm just spiritual, because I didn't want to associate. Oh, I'm with this church and I believe this, but I'm like,
agree.
I'm more reflect. I'm Christian, so I'm just going to say I'm Christian because it's necessary to realize I believe in Jesus. There's more positive beings out there who speak of Jesus as well, and I'm not talking about the people that worship Jesus on a spaceship. I'm talking about just we don't have to put definitions around everything. We could just say, our belief is in Him. It's like, do we have to? I don't know, throw it into such a tight defining thing. So there's enough room, I think, for there to be space brothers and sisters, and the church, they could have their rules as they want, but I think we're able to expand our thoughts even with outside of the church.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, but more people should think like that. I agree with you again, 1,000%, because it just seems like certain religions have control over what you should and should not believe and think, and
yes,
it kind of boxes you in.
Yep.
But what Heidi is saying is true. God is not going to say go to this church and not that church and believe in this.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't work like that.
No.
The higher energy, the higher vibration, the love of the soul, that's what it all stems to. But so here we are, and well, hopefully one day, maybe, which I doubt, the government would come forward and admit, but like you said, it gets spilled out and then it gets spinned around so much and watered down that you don't even know what the truth is. But I do, and you do, and that's why people should buy your book, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about tonight, we've experienced.
Yeah.
I personally experienced, and you've encountered some of these things where now you have it in books, so people can learn. And what about the people that don't believe in ghosts or demons or entities or anything?
Yeah, well,
Does the book help them to a non-believer? Would it open up their minds?
Yes, I think so, because it's not about trying to cram any certain belief down anybody's throat. It's, if you should so happen to come across something like this, or you meet somebody that has, or it's not just a possibility anymore, it's a threat that these things will come into your life at some point in some form. You move into a new house, you guys are fighting like cats and dogs, what's going on? You missed the little shadow hiding around the corner, influencing you. So we have to be cognizant of this very real possibility that something else is at play. And we are in a society where we're more convinced that our video games are real versus our souls. So who's got the upper hand when these things can walk through walls? We've got to wake up already and turn off our electronics and realize this inner us that these things want really bad. And if they could take us on for who we are, come at me while I'm awake sitting here talking. But no, they wait till you're looking away, you're sleeping at night. It's like these things have to get at you and fool you to gain access to you fully. So we've got a lot of power in that, knowing that, and knowing our enemy, whether we could see them always or not. So trying to wake people up to just that alone. And, I want to welcome people too to go to my website if they've experienced anything out of the ordinary. I answer their emails on my show, Dark Becomes Light. So if they go to shadowfolks.com or HeidiHollis.com and just write as much as they'd like, I'd more than welcome it.
Wow.
That's great that you do
Thank
that.
you. Yeah.
And that's helping people. So, Heidi, let's talk about the all-American family. They move into a new home, and they don't believe. but they're having these problems.
Yeah.
So how do they protect themselves if they just go to school, go to work, and they don't believe in anything, and yet they're being affected? How would they protect themselves?
Well, those are the ones that are really just good for eating up, because these things know that they don't have a faith or belief in anything, and that's usually like the first line I get in a lot of emails too. It's like, I don't get into that religious stuff, but the devil just showed up. What do I do? I'm like, hold on, you recognized it was the devil, but we don't want to say the word God or Jesus. Like, what are we saying here? It's such a weird world. It's like, why are we ashamed to say this? Like, I just don't get it. So those folks need to wake up to realize you got to stand your ground. Something found out that you don't have any kind of belief in anything. And so they're gaining access to you. So what's
an easy
important?
target.
Yeah, they need to bless their space. But if they're not believing that stuff, well, then they're really kind of screwed. I say throw a shoe at it. Then if you don't believe in anything, throw a book at it. Whatever. I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah, but if they don't believe, how are they going to help themselves? That's then probably not even knowing what's really going on.
It is a shame, and I'll tell you too. Like, a lot of these people, they'll have a priest or something go into their home to bless their home for them, and that doesn't always work because they're hiding behind somebody else's faith. So there, you better own up to it and just take it on, because otherwise you really are going to feel the wrath of it.
Yeah, that is true.
That is true. Let's talk about dreams.
That happened to us. We had the priest from the Catholic Church come here, and it hid.
Yeah, nothing. The priest came here to our home.
It hid. They're smart. They know.
The bulbs didn't blink. There were no shadows. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. But 3 hours later, oh yeah, the corner of the eye, here comes the shadows.
Yeah. It's typical. Very typical.
Yeah, it's typical, and we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot from that. Right? Yeah, we're still learning.
It doesn't you move; it'll come with you. It depends on how it's attached. If it's attached to you, or attached to a piece of property, or an object. So,
that's true. Now let's get into dreams really quick. Dream state is the vulnerable state. Do you? I'm sure that you believe in out of body experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we go to other places, some of us, who remember our dreams and feel like we're somewhere else in the dream.
Yes. That's something that is, I think that we're multidimensional people, soul-wise. I feel sometimes that I have other lives going on at the same time, where it's difficult to come back to this one. Like, this is kind of boring, but it's like, is there any tangible evidence of it? I think sometimes yes. I've had experiences that absolutely let me know that, and you get bleed through sometimes too. So, but yeah, the dream state, our souls venture. And I'll tell you something, I used to, and every once in a while I'll get an email like this where I had a website before most people did. And it was UFO, the number 2 and the letter U.com. So UFO2U.com. And people would like write me. It's like, OMG, I can't believe I found you. How did you come to me in my sleep? You saved my life, or da da da. And I wish I kept most of them, AOL email, like, I don't have them. But I do have one of them where I had several back and forth, and people would spot me in different places. And they would send their picture, like, do I look familiar? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you do. And it still happens. And some of them are like, I'm like, well, how'd you find me? It's like, well, you told me your name. It's like, oh, well, okay. It's really, so it's like, what is that? I learned the name for it just recently, bilocation. I had no idea what that was called.
Really? Oh, I didn't write that down.
Yeah,
bilocation.
Yeah, I had asked for years, what is this? And just like 6 months ago, I was told that's bilocation. So
wow, that is wild.
Yeah. You said something this is an amazing show tonight. I
Yeah.
have to tell you because I'm relating to a lot of the stuff that you're
Mhm.
saying, and
Glad.
sometimes this is what happens to me. It happened to me a few weeks ago, where I just find myself stopped in my tracks if I'm doing something, and I feel like part of me somewhere else, but not here on Earth,
Mhm.
obviously, somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I'm living somewhere else, and I mean
Uh-huh.
that happens to me like 2, 3 times a year. And I'm like, but I feel like I could feel I'm somewhere else. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I just go on. So when you said that the soul lives in multiple dimensions,
I think it's a possibility for sure. Yeah, I really do. While I was in college, I used to go and to this other place where I had a family. I had so much going on, and I was living in the dorms at that time, and it was so depressing to wake up to a college life. I started sleeping during the day and staying up all through the night because it broke up. Everybody would wake me up during the daytime, and I wouldn't go so far into this other life where it was depressing to wake up to this one. So yeah, so it was strange. It was a strange, and I'm now sleep more normal, but it was really hard back then. Like, where am I going, and why is it so hard bouncing back here? But now I still get these where I go and like help people. Just the strangest situations, something that happened to somebody, missing people, death, illness. I'm talking to these people, and it's weird when they find me, though.
that's amazing.
That's
This
crazy.
has been a fascinating,
Yes.
stellar
I knew it was
show.
gonna
It went
be.
really quick. I mean, the short time we're on,
Yeah.
we definitely have to have a sequel because I can relate
Yeah.
to a lot of stuff she's saying.
I know you can.
I get the chills. I'm like,
I knew
wow,
you
I
would.
met somebody finally
You'll
who's
have to
talking
love
about
me.
stuff that I've never met before, who
Mhm.
has it written in books.
I knew he was
So
gonna love
that
you.
makes me, you know what this makes me feel like? I'm not crazy because you have books on it,
Mhm.
and I don't know how to put it sometimes, but wow, where can people find you, and what do you have going on, and all that good stuff?
Well, you could go to shadowfolks.com or HeidiHollis.com, and I have my new show that's associated with Coast to Coast AM. It's a paranormal podcast network. You'll see the link right on my website when you go there. It's called Dark Becomes Light, and I'm writing a new book. I have a few more I need to do because I wrote my most regarded book is on Jesus. It's called Jesus is No Joke. And I had encounters with him, and I've never been shy to say it and speak of it. And he came more, and I need to finish that book on the other encounters I had with him. And then I'm writing a new book with another person. That is the first time I'm writing a book with somebody else, and it's going to be very different.
That's
Let's
great.
put it that way. It's very different. Something that I spoke on Coast to Coast AM with Maureen Seberg. So it's going to be something else, I tell you. So yeah, and I welcome people to write me anything that's going on in their lives. I don't charge people. I'm not a psychic. I'm just a person trying to help as much as I can. So
we thank you for that. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. I mean, you're an incredible guest with so much knowledge. Everyone, get those books.
Yeah.
Get those books. Give me the labels one more time, really quick.
The Secret War, The Hat Man, Jesus is No Joke. I have a book called Picture Prayers. And then the other fword.com, that's a book on faith. I'm a cartoonist, so it's like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, one for kids, one's for adults. And it's all about, just being more comfortable with who we are and our faith level and taking on this dark crap and showing it the door. So HeidiHollis.com, best place to go.
Thank you.
Everyone, there it is.
Thank
Followed
you
by the
so
books.
much.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight. This has been an incredible show. I'm going to re-listen to this as soon as we get off.
And yes.
And thank you so much. And to our listeners out there, be safe. Heidi, really quick for the listener, give him a word of enlightenment in a dark time.
You know what? There's a lot of horrible things going on right now, but this is a time of change. It's not a time of destruction. It's a time of growth and reflection, and we'll get through it. We will get through it. So
perfect.
Darkness becomes light, I tell you.
Well, Thank you so much,
Thank
Heidi,
you.
tonight. And we also want to thank Carnation for sponsoring the show. And join us every Monday night, 7 CT EST, coming live from United Public Radio, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM from New Orleans.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Heidi. Everyone, have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night.
Say hello to Guard Plus, with even more ways Alexa can help you keep your home safe. Tonight,